Tonight on KGW News, an explosion rocked this Oregon plant. Now there's rough news for the community that relies on the work. Plus,
it's just pure tragedy.
Friends remember a Tigard woman killed in a hit and run as police get closer to finding the driver. Then,
Old Town is in crisis, and everyone that is living or working here is suffering.
community leaders in Portland's Old Town have a list of demands, what they say the city has to fix now.
and later, a big honor for a grateful World War II vet.
I am the luckiest person you'll ever see on television.
Your news starts now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Molko, and we begin tonight with two significant arrests by Portland police, starting with the man investigators say is responsible for last week's deadly shooting near Dawson Park when gunfire rang out in the middle of the day.
And tonight, police are revealing the suspect in that case shot and injured two other people just one day earlier. Let's bring in Alma McCarty, who's been putting the pieces together here for us. Alma, what do we know about the suspected shooter?
Well, his name is Joseph Kelly Banks, and he was arrested last Wednesday, police say, a day after the killing Tuesday near Dawson Park. Though at the time, investigators charged him with 2 counts of attempted murder for a Monday double shooting that both victims survived. And they say one of those shootings happened in the exact same spot as the murder.
On March 1st, while hosting a community outreach event at Dawson Park for social change and anti-gun violence, Michael Tabor of Vancouver Avenue First Baptist Church witnessed a deadly shooting up close.
Realizing there were gunshots, I chose at the time to move toward them to see what had happened and noticed there was a gentleman who had been shot and was obviously laying in the middle of the street.
A week later, police identified the victim as 55-year-old Mark Johnson. Tabor said by the time he got to him, Johnson was already gone.
I think any loss of life is traumatic, but senseless loss of life is something that has challenged me tremendously. I think that I'm a person of faith that believes that when people leave here, they go to be with God. But this one made me cry for multiple days.
Earlier this week, detectives charged Joseph Banks with murder in the shooting death of Johnson. Banks was already behind bars, having been arrested on March 2nd for 2 North Portland shootings that happened less than 24 hours before Johnson's murder. Officers said the first shooting happened at this very intersection, North Williams and Northeast Stanton, at 4:45 p.m. on February 28th. The second shooting less than 10 minutes later on Northeast Garfield Street. Court documents detail a long list of prior convictions for Banks out of California, Oregon, and Washington. Federal court documents also show Banks was found not guilty by reason of insanity for a felon in possession of a firearm charge, and that he was committed for a decade before a 2021 conditional release.
If we're not going to make our community safe for everybody, then it's safe for no one.
Tabor plans to continue his outreach at Dawson Park in hopes to help heal this community.
Not only go back, but if I'm doing community outreach, what better time to galvanize people and bring them together than right after something like this.
Banks is still behind bars, his arraignment next week. Many neighbors around the park didn't want to talk with us on camera, even with the news of his arrest, telling me that they are still very shaken.
Understandably. Thank you, Alma. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines, we learned of another arrest in a recent Portland homicide. Lona Oconee Hudson is accused of shooting and killing a man in a parking garage near the convention center. He was in court today and pleaded not guilty to the charges. We talked to family of the victim, Jacob Dreyer. They say they don't know the man arrested or what could have led to the shooting.
An update 2 weeks after this devastating fire at an Eastern Oregon plant. We've now learned all of the workers will be laid off. Shearer's Foods announced today it'll take more than a year before they can resume production in Hermiston. The company says they're looking for opportunities to relocate employees to other plants. They're also offering a severance package. Now, the city manager says about 1 in every 30 jobs in Hermiston was at Shearer's Foods.
And the U.S. is now officially banning oil from Russia. President Biden announced the policy, saying it has bipartisan support. The president acknowledged the move will likely cause gas prices to go up even further. This comes as air alerts sounded in Kyiv, Ukraine on what is now Wednesday morning. Residents are being told to immediately get to shelters as there is threat of more missile attacks by Russia.
2 million refugees there and counting. Well, police here in Tigard have impounded what they're calling a vehicle of interest in a hit and run that killed a 57-year-old woman and seriously injured her mother. Karen Kane, seen here in these photos playing the fiddle, she loved Irish music, was struck and killed Friday evening before 9. Police say she and her mom were crossing Southwest Hall Boulevard at Lucille Court when the driver of a dark-colored Jeep Renegade hit them and kept going. Now, video from the scene this afternoon shows flowers and candles, but also a string of signs with messages that included "A driver killed our neighbor" and "Every corner is a crosswalk." It appears that both sidewalks and lighting are patchy along this stretch of road.
And if somebody was driving too fast or carelessly or texting or drunk or any of that, it would be so easy. Karen is the sweetest person, just really generous and kind and thinking about other people all the time.
And police said Tuesday they found the vehicle of interest near the crash scene. No word on the driver. They add Kane's mother, who is 86, is now in stable condition.
Today, community leaders in Portland's Old Town neighborhood joined forces to demand the city take bold action on crime and clearing the streets. Our Pat Doris talked with those community leaders. He shared their main concerns tonight on The Story.
Community leaders in Portland's Old Town say the crime and mental health problems are out of control there. And Tuesday, they demanded the city's elected officials take action to help out.
We're holding this press conference today because Old Town is in crisis, and everyone that is living or working here is suffering. We need immediate help, immediate relief.
That's Jessie Burke, the chair of the Old Town Community Association and owner of the Society Hotel. She's here because she and so many others are fed up with a lack of action by Portland city leaders and county leaders who seem to be turning a blind eye to the ugly reality that is now thriving in Old Town.
Many Portlanders haven't left home or gone much further than their neighborhood shops these last 2 years. We have lived and worked side by side with those so extremely mentally ill, they walk the streets naked, even in winter. They lick our windows, they eat food off the street and from city trash bins, and have untreated injuries that are the stuff of nightmares. And there is no plan for where they will ever live or be properly cared for.
Burke and other Old Town business owners met with city leaders in October. That's last October. They were told to come up with their own solutions on how to fix the community. So today they released their demands. In the next 90 days, they want more police in the area to cut the property crime rate by 40%. They also want 60 inches or 5 feet of clearance on all the sidewalks to make them usable for people in wheelchairs and for other reasons. That would likely mean clearing out most of those homeless tents that you see there now. They also want to increase lighting by 100%, and they want graffiti removed within 3 days. So, will the city meet their demands? We'll, of course, keep an eye on what happens. And if you want to watch our full report on the Old Town situation, check out the KGW YouTube channel.
Pat Doris there. We're learning more tonight about the conditions rescuers had to battle through to try and reach 2 climbers who fell about 200 feet on Mount Hood. One of those climbers died. The other is critically injured. Now, after the climbers fell Sunday evening, one was able to call 911 and send out a GPS signal. Thank goodness for that. Teams of rescuers spent nearly 20 hours trying to reach them, at one point stopping down for the night. The medical director for Portland Mountain Rescue was in touch with all of these crews for the duration, but he said high winds were just one of the factors that made coordination and radio comms so difficult.
The conditions of Mount Hood were extremely dangerous. The terrain in the Luthold Couloir is steep. There was a lot of new snow in the couloir. There were some avalanches that were occurring.
While a rescue team was able to bring down the injured climber Monday evening, they had to leave the climber who died. They are now waiting for better conditions to go back and recover the body.